Somewhere between dream and memory, between ocean's breath and the soft silence before sunrise, there lies a continent not found on any modern map, yet etched into the deepest layers of the soul: Lemuria. The very name whispers like the last echo of a lullaby sung by the earth herself. Not a place, not merely a legend, but a living resonance, an ancient paradise woven into the fabric of our spiritual DNA. And though history has tried to bury it beneath the rubble of reason and the tides of time, the memory has not died. It merely slumbers, waiting for the awakened ones to remember. This is not just a story about a lost land swallowed by the sea. No, it is a remembering, a return, for Lemuria is the forgotten paradise of the soul, the blueprint of unity before the great separation. A sacred echo from a time when humanity walked in harmony with the stars, when the earth sang and we still remembered the lyrics, when every mountain held memory, every ocean shimmered with meaning, and the very air was laced with love. But they never told you this. They never told you that before Atlantis, before Babylon, before even the first scribed word of history, there existed a civilization rooted not in conquest, but in communion. A people who lived not through hierarchy, but through harmony, whose temples were made of song and whose technology was consciousness itself. A golden age not made of gold, but of light. Why was it forgotten? Why do our textbooks remain silent while our dreams still whisper of sapphire waters, floating temples, and the golden skin of the sun-kissed ancestors? Could it be that Lemuria wasn't simply a physical realm, but a dimension of being that we once inhabited, a soul state, a frequency of Eden long before the fall, and perhaps not lost, but hidden within us? Lemuria is not some utopian fantasy. It is a mirror. It shows us what we once were, what we might become again, but only if we remember. Only if we reawaken the sacred code within us that still hums with Lemurian light. This journey is not about escape, it's about return. Return to the deep waters of inner knowing. Return to the primordial wisdom encoded in our blood. Return to the earth as mother, not resource. Return to love not as sentiment, but as science, as structure, as sacred law. Today, we begin that remembrance. Together, we walk back into the myth, not to escape reality, but to illuminate it. To peel back the veils that have kept us amnesiac. To ignite the starseeds within us that still shimmer with Lemuria's glow. Let this not be another piece of spiritual trivia. Let it be a soul initiation. A pilgrimage into the forgotten paradise that lives not beneath the sea, but within the silence between your heartbeats. And if this message stirs something ancient within you, something you can't quite name but have always felt, then I invite you to like this video, leave a comment with your reflections, and subscribe to journey deeper with us. This is just the beginning. You are not alone in your remembering. Let us now descend, or perhaps ascend, into the deeper currents that flow beneath the mythos of Lemuria. For while the name alone may stir echoes of a lost land swallowed by the sea, its truth runs far deeper than tectonic shifts or ancient coastlines. Lemuria, in its essence, is not merely a continent that vanished, it is a frequency, a soul song, a primordial state of consciousness, long buried beneath the sediment of modern amnesia. To truly understand Lemuria is to remember a time not just historically, but vibrationally, when humanity lived not in separation, but in sublime symbiosis with the earth, the stars, and the infinite intelligence that breathes through all. The Lemurian people, it is said, operated through heart-centered awareness, with telepathic communion, crystalline technology, and a reverence for life that was woven into the fabric of their civilization. They did not dominate nature, they listened to it, harmonized with it, and were healed by it. But here is the mystery many overlook. Lemuria is not merely a past chapter in Earth's long and winding story. It is a template, an encoded memory field that still pulses in the crystalline grids of the Earth, and the cellular memory of those who feel called to remember. The forgotten paradise is not lost, it is dormant, awaiting activation within those courageous enough to see through the veil of illusion and step into remembrance. The core truth of Lemuria is this: separation is an illusion. The division between self and other, spirit and matter, inner and outer, is a game the mind plays when it forgets the language of the soul. In Lemurian consciousness, there was no hierarchy of being, no systems of control, no fear-based dogma. Every sentient life form was seen as a unique thread in the living tapestry of Source. The Lemurians knew that the soul's true power emerges through presence, not performance, through stillness, not striving. They understood the universal law of resonance, that what we radiate, we magnetize. They lived by the principle of holographic unity, recognizing that each individual held the whole within themselves, like a drop of dew reflecting the entire morning sky. This is what they never told you: that the real Lemuria cannot be found on a map. It is accessed through vibration, through frequency, through the alchemy of inner silence and sacred intention. It exists where the heart opens without defense, where intuition speaks louder than logic, and where we remember that we are not separate from the divine, we are living extensions of it. Many who carry the Lemurian codes today feel like strangers in a strange world. Empaths, lightworkers, and old souls who yearn for a purer way of being, these are the modern carriers of the Lemurian flame. Their bodies may walk modern cities, but their spirits remember oceans that glowed with bioluminescent wisdom, mountains that sang with crystalline voices, temples made not of stone but of sound, of light, of intention. These memories are not fantasy, they are encrypted fragments of a higher timeline, trying to weave itself back into the collective dream. Yet with this remembering comes a responsibility, for to awaken Lemurian consciousness in our time is not merely a personal journey, it is a planetary one. It is the reclamation of sacred balance, the restoration of feminine wisdom, the realignment of human life with the great cosmic orchestra. Lemuria teaches us that evolution is not a straight line, but a spiral. And though the outer civilization may have been submerged by great cataclysms, the inner knowledge was never lost. It was seeded into the lands, the waters, the crystals encoded in DNA, awaiting a planetary moment of awakening. And perhaps that moment is now. So as we stand at this precipice between timelines, feeling the old world tremble and the new one beckon, we must ask ourselves, what ancient knowing lies dormant within me? What frequency am I here to restore? For those who feel the pulse of Lemuria in their bones, you are not remembering something gone, you are becoming something eternal. In the realm of symbols and story, truth often hides in plain sight, disguised not to deceive, but to protect what is sacred from being profaned. And so it is with Lemuria. This is no idle myth of a sunken land, it is a parable encoded with soul medicine, a forgotten language of light spoken in the hush between heartbeats. Let us now enter the dream time of Lemuria, where meaning weaves through myth and metaphor, reveals mystery. In the ancient Hawaiian tradition, descendants, some say, of Lemurian priest-kings and priestesses, the islands are seen not just as land, but as beings. The earth is not inert terrain, but a living ancestor. The mountains are elders, the waters are messengers, and the volcanic fire is the breath of transformation itself. This worldview echoes the Lemurian cosmology, in which all things were animate, sentient, and part of an unbroken whole. This isn't nostalgia, it is the soul's memory of a world where nature was not something outside the self, but a mirror of the divine within. One of the most enduring Lemurian symbols is the crystal, not merely as a mineral, but as a consciousness. In Lemurian lore, massive crystalline structures served as storage vessels for wisdom, healing, and harmonic alignment. These were not technologies of control, but of communion. The Lemurian seed crystals, often found with mysterious horizontal striations like coded messages, are said to carry the vibrational signature of this lost civilization. To hold one is to listen not with ears, but with presence, for encoded within their lattice is a hymn to wholeness, waiting to resonate with those who remember how to feel beyond thought. The oceans, too, hold sacred code. Lemuria was said to be a land deeply in tune with the sacred feminine, and the ocean, vast, rhythmic, cyclical, was both temple and teacher. Water remembers. It stores intention, emotion, and frequency. In Lemuria, the waters were known as the Akashic Veil, where memory could be accessed not by force, but by frequency. And so the myth of Lemuria's sinking is not only about geological collapse, it is about knowledge being submerged, waiting beneath the surface of collective consciousness, awaiting a tide of remembrance. Consider also the symbol of the dolphin, appearing in many Lemurian teachings as emissaries of joy, intelligence, and multidimensional awareness. Dolphins are said to be keepers of sonic knowledge, communicating in frequencies beyond human perception. In Lemuria, it is believed, humans and dolphins shared a telepathic link, bonded through mutual respect and evolutionary partnership. Is it not curious that even now, humans feel a profound, inexplicable joy in their presence, as if meeting old friends through a veil of forgetting? And then there is Mount Shasta, often whispered as a modern-day Lemurian outpost, where remnants of the ancient civilization dwell not in physical form, but in a higher vibratory octave. Beneath this mountain, according to legend, lies the city of Telos, an inner earth sanctuary where Lemurian elders continue to hold a frequency of love, balance, and spiritual sovereignty. Whether literal or symbolic, the myth of Telos points us to a truth, that wisdom does not die, it recedes, like the tide, and returns when hearts are ready. Lemuria as a symbol is not merely about what was, it is about what is still possible. It is the Edenic dream woven into the DNA of humanity, the archetype of the Golden Age, the memory of what it feels like to live in grace, to walk with the earth rather than upon it. In this sense, Lemuria is not a location but a state of being, a harmonic template of soul-embodied living. And perhaps this is the deeper paradox. What they never told you is that Lemuria did not vanish to punish or abandon us. It withdrew to preserve its purity until we were once again able to hold it with reverence. Its symbols are not relics, they are invitations. Its myths are not fantasy, they are maps. The Lemurian narrative is calling not to be believed, but to be entered, not as passive observers, but as living initiates. It is not asking us to reconstruct a civilization from stones and blueprints, but to reconstruct our own frequency to become again what we once were before the fall into forgetfulness. And so we are left with a question, not to answer, but to live into. What if the paradise we seek is not gone, but waiting for us to remember how to see? If Lemuria was, and still is, not merely a place on the map, but a frequency of being, a soul alignment, a sacred way of walking through the universe, then the question becomes, how do we live it? How do we, here in the modern world of fractured attention and hurried breath, reclaim the essence of a civilization built not on conquest, but communion, not on dominance, but harmony? The answer does not lie in seeking a distant shore or waiting for a great unveiling in the sky. The Lemurian way returns through practice, through gentle remembrance, through subtle shifts in perception, through living as if the earth were sacred again. Because she is, because we are. To live, Lemuria is to soften, to remember that silence is not empty, but full. It is to step out of the trance of urgency and into the cadence of presence. The Lemurians moved in rhythm with the moon, the tides, the inner pulse of the land itself. There was no hierarchy of time, no tyranny of the clock, only seasons of becoming, spirals of unfolding. In our own lives, We begin to echo this by listening deeply to the timing of our soul, rather than the demands of the world. One way this shows up is in how we treat the body. In Lemurian consciousness, the body was not a burden or a machine, but a luminous instrument of perception capable of translating vibration into insight. Healing was not reactive, but intuitive, energy-based, sound-based, heart-based. Even now, when we pause and tune into the body's wisdom, when we eat not out of habit but reverence, when we move with gratitude, we are rekindling that ancient relationship. We are speaking again the unspoken language of Lemuria. And then there is the heart, long overshadowed by the intellect, yet in Lemurian teachings considered the true seat of wisdom. The Lemurians knew what modern science is only beginning to rediscover, that the electromagnetic field of the heart is vast, intelligent, and coheres the rhythms of the entire body. When we drop into the heart through breath, through stillness, through authentic connection, we step back into the Lemurian paradigm, where feeling was knowing, and knowing was not separate from love. In practical terms, this might look like cultivating heart coherence before decisions. It might look like choosing relationships that are based on resonance, not convenience. It might look like creating spaces where beauty is not ornamental, but sacred, where intention is infused into even the simplest acts. Lighting a candle becomes a ritual, drinking water becomes a blessing, speaking becomes an act of alchemy. But perhaps the most radical Lemurian act in our time is to reclaim our unity with the earth, not just intellectually, but viscerally, to walk barefoot and feel the pulse of the planet rising through the soles, to thank the wind for its song, to recognize every tree as a fellow consciousness, every stone as an ancient witness, to plant not just gardens, but prayers, to remember that stewardship is not a duty, it is a devotion. In the Lemurian frequency, technology was never separate from nature, it was a translation of the natural intelligence into form. What if we too could begin to create from that place? What if our innovations were rooted in regeneration? What if our communities were designed not just to house bodies, but to nourish souls? It is here, in this weaving of the mystical with the mundane, that Lemuria lives again, not in grand declarations, but in quiet revolutions, in how we breathe, how we listen, how we walk through the world with sacred intent. Every moment becomes an opportunity to remember, I am not separate from the earth. I am not separate from the stars. I am a bridge between dimensions, a carrier of ancient codes, a living testament to what was and what still can be. And as we embody this truth, individually and together, something begins to shift. The veil thins. The frequency rises. What was once myth begins to feel real again, not because it ever ceased to be, but because we have finally become clear enough to perceive it. So let us not wait for Lemuria to be found. Let us become the ones who remember how to build it inside first, and then around us. So now, dear traveler, we arrive at the threshold, not an ending, but an initiation, a remembering, a reawakening. For Lemuria is not just the subject of ancient myths or sunken continents lost to time. It is the silent yearning that lives within your bones. It is the ache in your heart for a world that is soft, sacred, and whole. It is the dream you've carried since before you had a name. And now, in this very moment, the dream is stirring again. You see, the truth they never told you is that Lemuria was never destroyed. Not truly. It was diffused like light passing through water, scattered across timelines, carried within souls, encoded into the earth herself, buried not beneath the ocean floor, but beneath forgetfulness. And now the tides of memory are returning. You are one of the ones who remembers. That's why you're here. That's why the name Lemuria awakens something sacred and strange within you, something luminous and familiar, like a forgotten song, half heard in the stillness of a dream. This remembrance is not coincidence. It is a calling, because you are the bridge between worlds, between epochs, between what was and what could be. The spirit of Lemuria now lives where you choose to see through the illusion of separation, where you choose love over fear, presence over distraction, truth over convenience. It lives in how you hold space for another, in how you listen to the earth, in how you trust the knowing that rises unprovoked in the silence. And yes, it is not always easy to remember in a world that forgets, to carry the codes of harmony through landscapes of division, to feel deeply in a culture that numbs. But take heart, because even now, Lemurian souls are awakening all over the world, quietly, boldly, graciously, like stars returning to the night sky. They are the artists, the healers, the seers, the gentle warriors of light, those who create beauty not to be seen, but to remind others of the sacred, those who build not to conquer, but to restore, those who walk barefoot in both worlds, ancient and new, carrying the frequency of Eden in their breath. So let this be your activation. You are not lost, you are not broken, you are ancient beyond measure and luminous beyond belief. You carry a wisdom that predates language and a love that outlives time. Every wound has been a rite of passage. Every doubt, a test of remembering. And now you stand at the veil with the keys in your hands. Step through. Reclaim the paradise within. And know this: Lemuria is not just a story you've heard. It is the essence you are becoming. Let every thought be a prayer. Let every act be a ceremony. Let every breath be a bridge between earth and sky. You are the remembrance. You are the awakening. You are the return. If this message stirred something within you, if it rang true in the deep inner chambers of your being, then I invite you to share your reflections in the comments. I read them all. Let us remember together. If you feel called to explore deeper truths like this, subscribe to the channel and pass this message to a fellow soul who might be ready to awaken their ancient memory. The time of forgetting is over. The return of paradise is within. And you, beloved one, are the portal. Welcome home.